Show where I get to cook my favourite meat dishes from around the world. Not long ago, I went to the Philippines, to the city of Manila. Once I finally got through the traffic, I was able to sit down and eat one of the most amazing dishes, adobo, which is usually made with chicken or pork. It's sort of a combination of the Spanish and Chinese influences, slightly spicy, a little bit acidic. They put it all together and they make the most amazing dish. To start with today, I've got 2 chicken Marylands and I'll pop them on my chopping block. I'm going to slice lots of deep grooves all the way through because I want this sort of marinade and all these strong flavours to penetrate. It's a great simple marinade and it's a simple dish, and all these ingredients you'll see you've got in your pantry and your fridge at home. Now, a lot of people sort of don't really know much about Philippine food, but it's just such a simple, beautiful flavour. It's got that unique blend of the Spanish, as I said before. I cut some deep grooves and I cut them all the way to the bone because I want to penetrate everything. Now, into my dish I go, and I'll just remove my board here and my knife. Now, some ginger goes beautifully with chicken, and I'll just slice some nice thin pieces all the way through like that. You could of course grate it if you want, but for me I want this nice and sort of chunky, nice little strips like that. Perfect. Straight on top of my chicken. And some garlic, a couple of cloves of garlic, just give them a quick crush and a rough chop. Filipino food is really, it's a hot country, so the food's really sort of spicy and hot, but it's got the Spanish influences which make it really sort of unique. Things like vinegar. I've got half a cup of vinegar here that I'm going to pour on top. You can imagine the vinegar with the chicken's going to make it nice and zingy and spicy. And some soy sauce, that's where the Chinese come in. And the vinegar and the soy together work really, really well. I've got some chili here. Just going to slice that through the middle here. Remove those seeds. Sometimes Philippine food can be really hot and spicy, but for this one, you know, I just want it all about flavour and not too much about heat. Leave the seeds if you want, and if you want it really spicy, you could of course use Thai chilies, and that'll be really, really hot. But habaneros or whatever you've got lying around. If you don't have fresh chilies, it's okay to use dry chilies for this recipe. Throw that in there, and this is my little twist, a little bit of curry powder, just a pinch. I know it might not be kosher, but I reckon a little bit of curry powder really gives it, that's my sort of flavour. I've got some coriander here, some fresh coriander, and I'll just sort of rough chop that all the way through the middle here. Just be careful if you're ever using fresh coriander, make sure you wash it really, really well. Often it's got a lot of sand in it and grit. Pop that on top there like that, and then I've got a couple of bay leaves here. Now, of course, some salt, nice bit of salt on there, and some pepper. Good little twist of pepper. Now, this is the bit where we marinate it. We just mix it around and, you know, a good half an hour in here or an hour or even overnight, marinating in your fridge is what you want to do. And that'll allow the flavours in there. The beautiful thing about the cider vinegar or any vinegar that you put on meat, it helps to gather all the flavours up and helps to penetrate the chicken, especially with these grooves. Now, this is the sort of thing you could use with pork. If you've got pork tenderloin or pork leg or pork belly, you could do the same thing. You could roast it in the oven, but usually what we do is fry it in a pan. So I've got my non-stick pan here. You know, I was going to marinate it for an hour or so, but I thought, what the heck, we'll just cook it up now. So a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and I'm not going to put it in too hot. If I put the chicken in straight away with this marinade and the hot oil, it'll start to sizzle and bubble and go everywhere. So what I'll do is I'll just pop this straight in. And you'll hear that just starting to sizzle now. It's not too hot. What I'm going to do is brown it off a little bit and then turn it over. Once I've turned it over, I'm going to pour the rest of this marinade and about a cup of water into the pan. I'll pop a lid on it and let it simmer away. It'll take about 20 minutes or so, but the sauce will reduce down, the chicken will cook, and all I need to do is take the lid off and let it reduce down that last little bit till the sauce is nice and thick. Now, to go with this, of course, we need a bit of rice, and I've got a great recipe for rice with peas that you're going to love. This rice dish goes really well with the chicken adobo because The chicken's got probably another 15 minutes to cook, and my rice takes 15 minutes. So I reckon they go really well. In goes a bay leaf with some olive oil in there, and in goes some onions. You want to hear them starting to sizzle away. The rest of the onions and garlic in there with the bay leaf. And you want to sort of fry them off or sweat them off a little bit so you get all the flavour out of the onions and the garlic and the bay leaf there, and that gives it a lovely flavour. A little bit of salt in there and a bit of pepper in there. There we go. And I can smell already with that beautiful olive oil. Filipinos, they love their rice. They love food. When I was in the Philippines, I was taken out night and day to eat, and they eat so well. They're such lovely people. I'm going to put some desiccated coconut here that's been toasted. I love the flavour of it. Beautiful flavour. I'll just put that in there as well. Put the whole lot in there, so I've got a lovely flavour. It's sort of like the flavour of the tropics, isn't it? And then in goes my rice. Now, the measurements I have for this rice, I'm going to absorb it. So what I'm going to do is put 2 cups of rice into here now and stir that around and get a little bit of heat into it. And then I'm going to put 2.5 cups of stock or water or whatever else you want to do. If you wanted to, you can put coconut milk in here, but that ratio of 1 cup of rice to 1.25 cups of liquid, that's the basic method for absorbing rice. And all I'm going to do is pour my stock in now. Actually, I'm going to put some peas in for a little bit of greenage. Adrian needs to eat some vegetables, so in go my peas, stir them in there like that, and you're thinking, what's going on here? This will be a crack of a dish. I like my peas to be cooked all the way through with this one. So in go my stock. There we go, that comes to the boil straight away. And all I do is give that a stir around like that. Now what I do now is turn this down to the lowest possible setting and put the lid on it. And that way the rice will slowly cook. It'll take about 15 minutes or so, then I'll turn it off, and then by the time the rice is ready, the chicken will be cooked and I'll be ready to eat it. Just about there. I'll just take the lid off and you can see the sauce is reduced down. Another 30 seconds or so and it'll just come down to the perfect amount. My rice, perfect, just the way I like it. You know, the peas have come to the top, the rice is really fluffy and flavoursome up. Because I put the chicken stock in there, it's got a really sort of meaty flavour, which is what I like. Now onto my plate goes the rice, with a few peas on there and some of that coconut as well. And the rice has taken on some of the colour of the coconut and the chicken stock as well. Pop that there, and with my other spoon, I'm going to go across here. Look at that. You can see it's reduced enough by the big bubbles. The big bubbles start to form, and it just starts to thicken up. You don't want to reduce it too much, otherwise it'll start to stick to the bottom and caramelise. Off goes my stove, and then my chicken leg onto my plate. I grab some of this sauce, acidic, you know, soy sauce in there, nice and salty, lots of flavour in there, lots of ingredients. Beautiful like that. All I need is a couple of coriander leaves on top of it, roughly chopped like that, and some lime just to give it a bit more zing and a bit more freshness. Straight on top like that. Put another half there, and some deep fried shallots just to give it some crunch, and straight across the top there. It looks great, but there's no point just looking at it. I reckon we've got to eat it to try it. We'll see if the Filipino people at home will agree with me that this is the way it should be. Look at that. Moist and juicy. I can see it's cooked all the way through. It didn't take long. It's made its own sauce as well. The rice was easy as and cooked in the same time. That reminds me of Manila. Tasty, zingy, that soy sauce, that flavour, all the things you want in a chicken. Lucky I cooked 2 of them.